This is exciting. I see a lot of people who are career transitioners, and this is definitely something that is going to target that. What I'm actually doing today in the demo is I am applying for a job where I've never had the title in it, just to kind of use myself as a guinea pig to show you how I navigate this despite not having the title. Okay, so um, the first part of the demo that I'm going to go through is helping you understand how to extract your experience. I see that someone said that the hardest thing is figuring out how to pull the most impactful and most relevant information. Bang on. This is the first step that I want to help you figure out. And I also see that the biggest frustration is tailoring my experience to fit the role, especially because I am transitioning. So I am going to go through all of that. So while I am going to be doing the demo on a role that is related to products and consumer ed tech products, please understand that the process I'm going to go through is relevant to any profession. I have helped people across probably 10 different professions at this point, and in different countries. So this process works whether you're in tech, whether you're outside of tech, whether you're an agile coach, product manager, in marketing, finance, doesn't matter. It's the same process. Okay, and the first step is, let me show you here. I'm going to do this. Share my screen. Let's do this. Window. I'm going to share this screen. You can see here that I did a search on a job that I'm interested in. So a lot of you know this. I am very big on identifying your ideal job and not just applying willy-nilly to all kinds of jobs. So I have a career archetype quiz that's proprietary. And as part of the quiz, I ask people questions that answer these three areas. What types of problems do you enjoy solving? Is it people problems, process problems, product problems, maybe a combination of the three? And depending on the composition, I end up suggesting or shortlisting a number of roles that could align with your archetype. The other component of my career archetype quiz also asks questions around the social impact that you enjoy making, and as well as your collaboration style, because it's not enough to do things that you like in a company. It has to be something you believe in, and that's the social impact. It has to be types of organizations or domains that you enjoy creating a social impact in. And it has to be in a way that aligns with your way of collaborating, right? This is why sometimes I get people who tell me, I'm so confused. I kind of like what I do, but my organization is toxic, or I hate being micromanaged, or I wish I had decision-making power. So my career archetype quiz covers all of these areas. So since I'm using myself as a guinea pig, when I took the career archetype quiz, I came down to this conclusion that I enjoy solving people and product problems. Throughout my career, doesn't matter what job I did, I cared more about the customer. I care about teams too, but if I had to pick where I want to focus on, I want to focus on building products that delight customers. So that was the first result of my career archetype quiz. The second part of my career archetype quiz asked me questions around what type of social impact I enjoy making. And the type of social impact that I've always enjoyed making was to help people learn. That is a social impact. Some people will say, I like improving processes. That's how I help people. I want to be in the health space, whatever it is. For me, it's always been in the ed tech learning space. That's always been my passion since I was a kid, since I helped my mom build her preschool, and I used to teach kids, how to learn. It's been that way forever for me. And even as a consultant, that's always something that I craved, was always teaching and guiding my team and my customers on how to use products and how to be effective learners. Okay, the third thing that I noticed about myself when I completed the career archetype quiz is that I love being the driver and I love being a plant. So there is something called Belbin team roles, and that is a component of my career archetype quiz that sort of asks you what type of role you enjoy playing in the team. So maybe you are the ideas person, or maybe you are the coordinator who brings people together. Maybe you like being the back seat, maybe you like being the front seat. My results were screaming out loud saying that I am an ideas person. I like being the one who decides what features go into products, and I like being a driver. I like taking ownership of things. So, based on my career archetype quiz, then I searched for a job posting that I really liked. And this is the job posting. I'm going to show you all what it is. It is a products and partner manager, consumer ed tech role. So I'll be honest, I've never done this job before. Never. So why I picked this type of role? Obviously, it had to align with my ideal job, but I also decided to not pick a role that is so easy for me to align my resume to, because a lot of you here are transitioners, and I want you to learn some of the hurdles that I had to go over in order to come up with my resume. Okay, so far so good. Tell me, what is your biggest takeaway so far? The people who participate the most are definitely eligible for the free resume template. So don't, be silent, because I don't want this to be just some other training that you come out of with nothing. So drop for me, what is the biggest takeaway for you so far? I'm very curious. And I'm also looking through the comments and I see questions. Someone who has not worked in tech field in over 8 years, been teaching in college, getting back as agile project management. How can her? Yeah, so definitely pay attention to my process so that you can use it to advise your client on how to map what the job posting says to her experiences. And you can also reshare this video so that your friend learns. Okay, so what I did actually was I went through this entire job posting. The biggest mistake that people make, and this is, so phase one is identifying your ideal job, doing the career archetype quiz, figuring out what possibilities could be in alignment. Based on my career archetype quiz, it's screaming out loud that product management is an area I need to focus on. So I went on Google Jobs, I looked at different job postings, and I'm not going to go through this in detail because my podcast goes through it and you can check it out. But I boiled it down to this ideal job based on my career archetype quiz results and my criteria. Now, we talk about phase one, figuring out what you want, picking an ideal job that ends up being a model that your resume is going to build against, so that you don't have 100 different versions of resumes, right? This is your baseline, basically. Now, step two that people neglect is not spending time understanding the job posting. And this is why people have trouble aligning what they've done to what the job posting asks for. So, what I did was I read through this, and I created some notes to summarize the things that stood out for me. So if we look at the beginning, people skip through this actually and they just go into the bullets. But if you look at the beginning of the job posting, you understand that this is at a startup. And it seems like the startup is at a stage where they want to grow. So you can see here why they emphasize on growth. So when I talk about my experiences, I have to really, really emphasize how I've been involved at companies where I grew the product, where I helped help the company acquire a lot of customers, right? That is the focus. Not so much on building the product, but actually growing it. If you can see here, I'm going to zoom in so that you all can see. So growth is the biggest thing. The other thing that stood out for me is that it is a startup. So I actually worked in a lot of companies that were massive. And so that is going to be a challenge for me, showing this company that I can relate to their environment. Now, the great thing that's working out for me is that I'm a founder of my own startup. So that means I should emphasize and spend a lot of time explaining what I've been doing in my startup rather than spending too much time on the other aspects of what I've done in my career. Okay. The other thing that stood out for me as well, and I summarized the notes here, is this position leads our consumer facing micro tutoring app business. And you can see this is actually all in this, blurb of stuff that people tend to skip over. So there's a heavy emphasis on how this is an education on demand app. It also talks about how the type of environment is with people who worked at companies like Google, Lyft, Microsoft, Uber, and this is about being responsible for the overall growth strategy. You can see that there's nothing here about building things. It's about really getting a ton of clients signing up. So in the core job, it talks about growing users and adoption. It talks about partnership. How do we leverage, create allies in other companies or similar, products in order to grow the number of customers? And it has some typical things that a product manager would do, like driving the roadmap, working with design operations, the types of team members that we're working with, things around setting KPIs, and that sort of thing. Another thing that I also emphasize for people to know what they should include in their resume is this part. This is the most important part, okay? You should have. Sometimes in job postings, it says minimum requirements, and people skip through that. Look, if you don't hit the minimum requirements in your resume, the recruiter is not going to keep reading. All right. So you definitely, when I go through my experiences, you will see that I will ensure that I include moments in my career where I worked on user-facing products, where I have driven the user acquisition and has been able to help companies get more users, where I was using metrics, right? And where I created allies with other businesses. Cool? Now, bonus part, still try to address these points, but this is not like super mandatory, so I wouldn't sweat over it if you don't have experience in these things. For me personally, I did not work a lot on mobile apps, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get disqualified because I'm pretty strong at all of these things. I did work on websites though, and I also worked in education related applications. Being the product that I offer in career coaching is an educated related product. It's an e-learning product that I provide as part of my coaching for clients, and it's a SaaS product that people sign up to in order to watch learning videos. Okay, and then here it talks about P&L for a startup business. Of course, as a founder, I have to manage my profit and loss. So I pretty much hit a lot of these things, but I never had this actual title as products and partner manager. Okay, so far so good. Tell me what your biggest takeaway is in terms of this approach. And by the way, what I also did in my own words, I took extracts of the things that stood out for me. And I categorized these things into, okay, what are some of the strategy and design things that the role asks for? They want someone who grows their user adoption. They want someone who owns the roadmap. They want someone who has experience leading ideation sessions. Okay, what are some of the people or leadership things that they're asking for? They want someone who knows how to work with designers, operations, product leaders. This categorization solidifies the job posting in my head. It almost makes me memorize it, and it almost creates this checklist for me. And by categorizing it, it also helps me not overly focus on one area. You can't just, focus on growing users and adoption. You have to also show them that you have leadership skills. You have to also show them that you have analytical skills. Okay? So break down line by line, game changer. I'm telling you, definitely. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another game changer that's going to blow all of your minds. So let me see if I can do this. Stop sharing. And I am going to share this app that I use. It is called Flashcard Hero. So this is a free app. It's a flashcards app that I love using. And it's called Flashcard Hero. And what this, you can actually download it for free. So let me see actually if I can type this up for you all. I hate how my streaming application does not allow me to type in the chat box, which is so annoying. But it's okay. I'm just going to go in here in my LinkedIn and type it up for you because I don't want to miss out. I don't want you to miss out on this app. I truly think that is a game changer, and one of my clients actually discovered it. So let me copy and paste it here. So flashcardhero.com. This is an amazing tool, not just to organize your experiences and stories, but it also great for interviews. You can quiz yourself. There's capability to quiz yourself, to put the question in the front of the card, and then put the answer in there. Now, I like using it not just for interviews. I use it to organize my thoughts. So I'll tell you what I did. So remember how I pulled basically all of the different sort of, let me see if I can, okay, you're all seeing this. Okay. So remember how I said that in the Google Doc, I basically pulled all of the key points that were important in the job posting. So for example, ability to collaborate with cross-functional teams, growing user adoption, owning and driving roadmap. So here's what I did. I create categories for each company and position that I've held. So for example, unleashing your awesome, and it doesn't show for some reason all of the flashcards, but that's okay. You don't need to see them all. Unleashing your awesome obviously is my company at the moment, right? So I'm able, oh, actually, yeah, it shows a little bit of the flashcards. I'm able to create a set of flashcard, and each flashcard has one of the job's criteria, and then I write some notes and a story that illustrates how exactly did I do this. Okay, so I know you're all confused at this very moment. Bear with me. I'm going to go through one example. So Slalom is one of the companies that I worked for. And what I did was I created a flashcard for ability to collaborate with cross-functional teams. And the project that I was on was called Cheetah Digital. So I thought to myself, let me think of a moment that demonstrates how I was able to work with cross-functional teams. And instead of just doing a complete brain dump, because if I just do the brain dump, I'm not going to know what I should talk about. I used, a lot of you know the STAR framework, maybe the SOAR framework. I use that to basically describe a story that demonstrates how I collaborated with cross-functional teams at Slalom. That way, I can provide some context in terms of what was the product that I did, what was the importance of the product, what are some of the challenges that I faced, what are some of the actions that I took, and then what was the result? Because you're going to need the result, especially when you illustrate the impact that you've done in a quantifiable way. So I know it feels like a lot of work, and believe me, I had to do this in like less than a week in order to do this session. I'm not joking with you, but I actually worked on this week, never done it before, in order to deliver this session. So if I can, you can. And by the way, I have more than 15 years of experience. So no excuse if you're saying that you have a lot of experience and you forgot, etc. You can do this. So this is an example of how I basically worked on a cross-functional team. And I even talk about what type of team members I work with, because the job posting talks about how you need to work with designers and operations and all that stuff. I also talked about how one of the biggest challenges working on this project was that every business unit was tracking their marketing campaigns using different systems. I mean, who here has never experienced being on a big project where you have to work with different departments and they all want different things, or they all track things differently, right? And then I looked at the job posting as well, and I asked for myself, they talk about how you need to have experience, facilitating discovery sessions, how, you've shaped the roadmap. So I asked myself, did I do any of these things? Actually, I did. I did facilitate a discovery session. I actually worked with a team to create a roadmap in Jira so that we can show the effort to business stakeholders. And in the end, the quantifiable result was I was able to accelerate the time to market by 50%. Okay. So I literally did this for every single part of the job posting, collaborating with cross-functional teams, growing user adoption, owning and driving the roadmap of initiatives, leading ideation, validation, and launch of growth experiments on social channels. Every single bullet that it's in the job posting, I took it and I wrote a story around it in order for me to get my ideas organized. Okay, so that is step number 2, is organizing your ideas. First, figuring out what your ideal job is through the career archetype quiz. Then finding an ideal job that you can align the resume to, understanding it, pulling all the important information, and then using the flashcards to basically brainstorm stories that are in alignment with all of these different bullets. Now, the part that I just did with the flashcards is the hardest part. My clients keep telling me that it's the hardest part, but now I believe them, because you're getting, honest to God, when I was going through this, I went through imposter syndrome. And if I wasn't a career coach, I would have freaked out, because I had to relive experiences that I hated. I had to, to me, it seemed so simple what I did. Okay. And so I would get imposter syndrome, like, I don't have a good stories, and this is so ordinary. Everyone else does this. I had like all of it. I went through this entire roller coaster. Some tips to overcome that, which has helped a lot of my clients, is to talk through it with someone. Because once you set up your flashcards and just put a few thoughts and brainstorm some projects and things that you've done, what I do within my community is I pair people up so that they can talk through their experiences together. And of course, I also act as a detective and ask my clients, okay, so what was the point of this project? What did you do? Why is it such a big deal? How many clients did you impact? What was the geographical span of this project? If you are someone who is at the director level, you need to show that you were able to manage like large projects that are valued in the multi-million dollar range. What differentiates someone who's a senior product manager from a director is the scope. So I ask my clients a lot of these questions when they go through their flashcards, so that we can have solid information. Because guess what? It's not the template that makes your resume amazing, it's the content. Content is king. Okay. Yes. Oh, no. Do you do this for each job that you apply for? That is an excellent question. No, you do not do that, because your experiences are never going to change. Your experiences are your experiences. Once you set up your flashcards against your ideal job, you're not going to have to go through this headache again. This is the reason why it's important to pick an ideal job that you're going to focus on. At the end of the day, product manager role, regardless of what the job posting is, 80% of the job posting is going to be the same across the board. This is why we emphasize, right? This is why we emphasize picking an ideal job that acts as a model job that you can align your resume to. And then, you know, let's say you apply to a job that is slightly different. Now that you have your flashcards, you can go back and maybe add a couple of requirements. And maybe the project that you already brainstormed, you already hit the requirements. You just forgot to mention that. So once you have the flashcards, honestly, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. And I also have prompts and templates and flashcards that I give my clients to sort of inspire them that are related to different job categories. So for agile coaches, there are set criteria that an agile coach must hit. For example, scrum ceremonies, coaching teams, guiding product owners, right? These are common things that are not going to change regardless of what company you're going to go for. This is why it's important to focus on one job family. Okay, so biggest takeaway, let me know in the chat as I continue to the next step, which is taking the contents of the flashcard and plopping them in the resume template. So as I pull that up, I'd love you to put for me in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway? And remember, the people who are the most engaged are the ones who get the resume template. So I'm going to be going through this live session after it's over, and I'm going to be looking at the timestamps and looking at every single person who participated, and I'm going to ensure that that person gets the resume template. So let me know what your biggest takeaway is. Okay, so let us do this. I am going to pull up the famous resume template, which the winners are actually going to end up getting. It's actually a very cool template. Let me show you. Share screen and window. Wonderful. So this is the resume template that I'm going to be sharing with you. And I hope that at the end of the session, you're going to feel a little bit more confident coming up with your flashcards and then having a visually appealing resume template. Now, the rule of thumb is that the resume has to be 2 pages. And I know there's a lot of, I have so many names in my head, but I'm going to be nice since this is a live and I don't want people to, quote me. But there's a lot of, let's say, misinformation that a resume should be 1 page. I disagree. Look how beautiful this template is. If I squished everything into 1 page, there's not going to be breathing room. There has to be some white space. You have to create a delightful user experience for your recruiter. Your resume is like a website, okay? Who is interested in going on an ugly website that has so much text and gives you a headache that you cannot easily navigate, right? So it's important to have it spread across 2 pages so that you can space out your information and go deep into what you've done. You're not going to be able to go deep into what you've done, especially if you have 7 years of experience or more, if you try to cram all of your experiences into a single page. Now, the resume template shows you that you need to put your first name and last name at the top. And even if you haven't had the title, you should use the title on the job posting. All this says is, my name is Nada Buhendi, and I'm applying for the partner and product manager role. What was the name of the role? Products and partner manager. Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly what should go in there. It doesn't mean that I've, necessarily held the title. I'm just saying I'm a candidate for this position. That's the biggest mistake people make. They put some random title, it doesn't match, and then, hey, basically the recruiter is going to throw your resume in the trash because you're basically saying that you've never played this role before. Why should they even bother reading the rest? I love the logos, and I have many kinds of templates, by the way. This is not the only template that I share with my clients, but I am giving you basically one of my coolest templates for free. That's how much I care about people and them succeeding. So I like the logos because they stand out and they give it a nice tech vibe. So especially if you are going for a tech role, it has this very cool, effect. And especially if you've been at big, names, this really makes you stand out. All right. The other thing that I wanted to say is that the way I like to structure the experiences, okay, is you have the company name, the dates need to be close to the company name. Some people put it on the side, and that's not a good idea, especially if your dates are not amazing. If you have short durations, if there's a lot of gaps, what you're doing is you're creating bias. You're getting the recruiter to overly focus on the dates, right? This is why I don't bold this. It's a trick that I use. I bold the title, but I don't bold the dates and I don't bold the company names. So it eliminates the bias. The second thing that I wanted to say is a lot of people have bullet, 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 bullet. Horrible, horrible. Sorry. No other way to say it. I've interviewed so many recruiters. I've worked with a lot of recruiters, and their biggest pet peeve is when you make every single thing in your resume important. Okay. So you want to have a paragraph that describes what you've done, and the bullets should be reserved to achievements, not things that you've done. That's what the bullets are going to be reserved to. And in a moment, I'm going to show you my resume so that you can see what I'm talking about. But notice how I'm categorizing the information so that the recruiter can easily navigate your resume and know what to expect. And it's also consistent. I don't have like bullets here and one paragraph here. It's all consistent. A paragraph to help them quickly scan through what you've done as, let's say, a product manager at Google, for example. Top achievements to show your wins. Great, you did all these things. What are the wins that you created for the company? And then, especially for product managers, I have key products that you worked on so that they have a quick idea of the types of products that you were involved in. If you're not a product manager, if let's say you're in another profession, you could call this key initiatives so that when the recruiter looks at it, let's say you're in finance, maybe you were working on this initiative where I don't know, you create these financial reports that helped executives better understand the performance of the company. This is an opportunity for you to really highlight that project. Okay. So you see how it's super easy to navigate, clean. You can find the information and navigate it. Now, notice that the experience is all the way on the second page at the bottom. And this is, again, another mistake that people make, especially when they're experienced, is they waste a lot of space putting their education, their certifications, their skills, when the recruiter just wants to cut to the chase and see if you've done the job or not, and if you've held the title or not, or at least played the role that is closest to that title. Okay, so this is why the education is all the way at the bottom, along with certifications. People tend to be obsessed about their certification. And honestly, I'll tell you right now that some recruiters even said to me, actually hiring managers who said to me that when they see too many certifications, they feel like the person is trying too hard and they're overcompensating for their lack of experience. So focus on your experiences more than your certification education. The other thing that you'll also notice on the left side, I have a profile section, or what I call a summary section, that pretty much summarizes and gives them an executive, pitch of how many years of experience you've been doing this, what are the things that you've done, what are some of the wins, summarized. Okay. And you're going to learn how to do this too when I go through it using my resume. But I'm just giving you an overview so you understand a little bit the purpose of each section. Also, here's my contact information. Obviously, a lot of it is bogus because I don't want anyone calling me or showing up at my place. when I'm, broadcasting this live, but at least my email is accurate. So here you go. If you ever want to send me a note or ask me anything, you can also send me an email. And of course, this is my real LinkedIn URL. How I do this is I actually have links. So if you right click and you click on hyperlink and edit hyperlink, you can edit the link so that it is clickable, so that a recruiter can quickly click on this URL and look at your LinkedIn profile. And believe me when they say, yes, they do check. They validate your identity by clicking on your LinkedIn profile. So that is another thing that you need to make sure is stellar. And that is something that I also help my clients with, is have a stellar LinkedIn profile. Okay, so we talked about the profile section. We talked about the experiences, the technical skills. If there are tools that are relevant to the role that you're applying to, make sure that you list them out. And this is something that you'll see in the minimum requirements. Don't list a laundry list of technical skills that are not relevant to the position. So let's say you are a developer transitioning to product manager. If you have all of the programming languages and not a lot of tools that are relevant in product management, that's going to give them the impression that you're not really a product manager. And if you're, let's say, a program manager, right? Whatever role or profession you're going for, make sure that the technical skills, the tools are relevant to the position. Prioritize the ones that are relevant to the role. If the job posting does not mention them, then you may not need to include them. So don't try to overload people with information. Keep it clean. All right, so I went through all of this. I think you all deserve for me to show you the finished product. Yay! um, so let me open this up. I actually have like different versions because I thought I would have time to show you how the different versions progressed. But let me just, you know what? Let me actually show you part one. And so let me actually give you a walkthrough of how I approach this step by step. So the first thing I did when I worked on the template is I left everything as is. And all I did was I updated the company names, the titles, I updated my logos, and that's all I did. And I left all of this as placeholders. You know why I did that rather than doing the whole thing at once is because I wanted to know how much space do I have. Because if I don't have a lot of space here, for example, that means I don't need to work too hard on my flashcards for this position. That means I need to spend more time flushing this out. So this is how you can be organized, right? This is how you can be organized is have all these placeholders and then go and flush them out after you have these placeholders. Great. Makes sense, everyone? Help me, help you. Tell me if it makes sense. Put in the chat biggest takeaway, just so that I know I didn't lose everyone. Okay? Cool. I think we are ready to see the finished product. Ta-da! That is the finished product. This is what my resume looks like. Okay, how to get through the ATS software. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You gotta watch my live with with Shanae, who's a recruiter in Microsoft. Remember, the application tracking system does not screen your resume. There's a human being who looks at your resume. So please, don't worry about how your resume is going to get parsed. The recruiter is going to look at the PDF, not at the fields, in the database. Okay. And actually, when you're filling out your application and you upload your resume, the application tracking system will pre-populate the fields with your resume, and you will have the opportunity to review those fields and correct them if needed. So a small price to pay while having a visually appealing resume that your recruiter is going to enjoy reading when they are going to be focusing on the PDF and not the fields. Okay, I can rant over that, and I invite you to listen into my podcast. There is an episode dedicated to the myth around the resume bots. So, invite you to watch that. And I will plop the podcast link later on. Okay, so I want to go over how I came up with my basically resume. And let me see if I can do this because I want to show you the resume flashcards side by side when I came up with this. So, little complicated. Anyway, it's fine. I'm not going to show because it's just going to complicate things. So as you can see, the first thing that I did, obviously, is update all of the company names and the titles. This obviously should be the title on paper. Okay, so my title on paper, honestly, I could call myself anything because this is my company. So if you are a founder, then I would just use whatever the target role is and just put in products and partner manager. I'm just going to say that I'm also a founder because I think that's important for them to know since that gives me an advantage. Okay. So notice how I did not focus too much on the fact that I help people with resumes or that I'm a career coach or any of that stuff. I focused on the fact that at the end of the day, I have grown the user adoption at my startup. If you think about it, right? In order for me to be successful as a business, I have to grow my community, and I have. I've been able to grow my community from basically 0 to 136 people in a span of 2 years. And notice how I emphasize, since the job posting asks for this, that it's with user-facing digital consumer products. So let me pull actually the, let me do this. Let me pull the job posting as a reminder. So notice how, right? Growing user adoption, I paid attention to that. Owning and driving roadmap, I paid attention to all these things and I incorporated them. And because my flashcards were focused on that, right? That's why the wording mirrors the job posting. And I didn't talk about irrelevant things. It doesn't mean that I didn't do other things as a career coach and as a founder, but those are not things that are relevant to the job posting, right? This is why the creation of the flashcard is very, very important. Okay, I'm only gonna cover my startup role and one of the roles that I've done that is so not relevant to the job, just so you understand how you can take something that you've done that's completely different than the job posting and make it relevant. Okay, so this obviously is the most relevant thing that I've done to the job posting. And this is why I spend so much space on it, even though it's only been 3 years. Notice that I also talk about, the geographical span to show them that what I've done is impressive and to show them the scope of what I've managed as a founder. And the fact that I grew users across all these countries. And I also talk about how I created allies with different organizations. Even though I was more of a speaker, at the end of the day, I partnered and created allies because the role talks about partner manager, right? Someone who's able to create partnerships with complementary products. The other thing I wanted to say is that the achievement section, you can see it's very quantifiable. Achieved 90% user adoption. I quantified that. How I calculated that is I basically ballparked what percentage of my clients stayed till the end of the program and used my e-learning product. In fact, in my e-learning product, I have analytics and metrics that show me, and now my clients are going to get scared. I know if every single person watched my videos in my e-learning product, because I have analytics, and 90% of them have watched all of my videos from start to finish. So that shows that I have created user adoption. I also grew my followers from 5,000 to 17,000 almost, right? So if you round it up, you'll see on my LinkedIn, I have close to 17,000 followers, and I did that in 2 years by launching growth experiments on social channels. And that is literally what the job posting says. Let me show you real quick, just so you see that. Slide, present, stop screen. One day I'm going to be able to do this in a non-clunky way. But I wanted to show you that I'm not basically inventing anything here. If I do a search on social, you'll see that I literally borrowed the language. Launching growth experiments with initiatives on social and community channels. Oh my God, look at this. I used their wording and made it mine. And that is a trick that I teach my clients in terms of mirroring, framing your experiences in the language of the job posting. Okay, I'm going to quickly wrap it up with one last thing, just so that you all learn. I think you all learned a lot so far, and I have a tendency to try to help people learn as much as possible. Let me see here. Share screen again. And okay, so this is probably one of my experiences that are the least relevant, that is the least relevant to the position. But I still tried as much as possible to align it, right? You're not going to be able to hit all of the job posting requirements in every job that you've held. As long as you focus on the first 1 or 2 roles, that's sufficient. Okay? That's sufficient. The other lesson that I also wanted to share with you is I did a lot of contract roles before I started my startup. And rather than listing out, the contracts separately, I bundled them together under my name, because technically I'm not an employee as a contractor. I work for myself. And that what allowed me to do is reduce the gaps and not have a short duration. Okay? So that is basically, hey, are we wrapping up already? If you have to go, no worries. You're just going to miss out on the information. I'm giving you here a lot of golden nuggets and free advice that resume writers charge in the thousands of dollars. So it's your prerogative if you want to leave or not. No problem. Okay, so you can see here, that's another trick I do, is bundling under your company name. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that the profile section, I borrowed a lot of the terminology from the job posting. Rather than being all fluffy and talking about my hobbies or any of that stuff, you'll see that I picked all of the things in the job posting that aligned to me, and I used it to reframe my experience. So you can see that this is a process. This is a journey. And I gave you all the steps, but what's hard about this journey is having someone to talk to in order to elicit your experiences, having a sounding board to basically ask you questions, doing this as part of a community in a fun, collaborative workshop. So, who is interested in working closely with me after I give you the template and you take a stab at it, to learn how to do this in a 2-day workshop in a fun, engaging way where you're going to get templates and shortcuts basically to doing this. So I have, for example, a template that's more specific to product, a program that is more specific to agile, project management, learning consultant, education, people who are pivoters. I have a cheat sheet that can help you quantify your achievements. And, the first 10 people who actually sign up, what ends up happening is you get 20 minutes of one-on-one with me where you get to pick my brain. So this workshop takes place on Monday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and Tuesday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. My goal is to help you get your resume to the finish line. So this is not a lecture based, you got the information today. This is a get your resume to the finish line workshop because I want to empower people to get their resume done so that they can apply for jobs and learn how to do it themselves so that they can do it themselves and for life and not constantly have to pay someone to do it for you. Not only are you going to learn how to write your resume, but you're going to learn how to communicate your experiences in a concise, clear way, which is going to help you build your confidence, which actually is going to help you with your interviews because you've seen the flashcards. Those can also be used for interviews. So if you are interested in my resume workshop, the first 10 people who end up signing up, I'm actually discounting the workshop because it is valued over, to be honest with you, like $500, $1,000, but I am going to basically give people on this call, just because I know you're all action takers and you stay till the end and you learn this and you're basically showing me that you really want to do this. I'm going to give people a discount so that you only pay $200. Okay. So only for the first 10 people who want to do this. So if you are interested, plop resume workshop in the chat. It has to be like before this session ends. Plop resume workshop in this chat, and the first people who basically plop this in, we will basically get my discounted rate, and I will personally DM you the link to the discounted checkout page so that you can attend my workshop. I'm limiting the number because I want to be able to give people one-on-one individual feedback on their resumes. There's going to be a resume review component. You're going to pair up with people on day one so that you can extract, your experiences. Just so you know, I'm a certified resume writer, okay? I am one of only 4 people in the entire International Association of Career Coaches who is at the master level. I'm at a point where I want to actually teach people to do things themselves as someone who trains other coaches. And I am also the only certified resume writer who was a former product manager, was a former agile coach, understands tech inside out, and has more than 15 years of experience. So I'll be able to ask you the right questions because I have the context of what you've done. Okay. So I don't know when I'm going to do this again because it does take a lot of energy out of me to run these workshops. It even took a lot of energy out of me just to put this together. But that, if you were able to get so much free value in this session, imagine what it's going to be like when you come to the workshop that is paid. That's my philosophy, is I love exceeding people's expectations. So if you want the resume workshop, type in resume workshop, make sure that you're a first degree connection with me. I will personally send you the link that is a discounted link. I'm not sharing this in here because I don't want my checkout page to blow up, and I want to control the number of people who are going to attend. I want to max it out so that people get value and keep the groups small. And I'm also only going to give a discount rate to a limited number of people because I know that this workshop is valued a lot. So, resume workshop if you are interested. And because I honor my word, if you shared this LinkedIn Live, then please put in resume template. I'm going to go and check that you reshared this event. I will cross check and also DM me as well and let me know that you reshared it so that I can and share with me your email address so that I can send you the resume template. So whether you sign up for the workshop or not, I want to make sure that I honor my word. Please make it easy for me. I am one person. I can't always keep track. Please put in resume template if you have reshared the event. If you have not reshared the event, it's your opportunity to do that right now. Send me an email or send me a DM to LinkedIn with your email address, and I will get my assistant to send the resume template to you. So every single person who reshares this event and has stayed till the end, and I'm seeing the time stamps here, 12:56, 12:57, right? You will get the resume template. And if you are interested in taking it to the next level, so wonderful, everyone. It's been fun. I truly enjoyed this. Honestly, this experience humbled me. Now I have more empathy for people. I mean, I've always had because I've been a job seeker, but doing it for someone, it's one thing. Doing it for yourself is hard. So if I'm a master, resume writer and career coach, and I had a hard time writing my own resume, right? The average person is going to have a hard time talking about yourself and selling yourself. This is why it's important to have a sounding board and to work with people to help you elicit the cobweb of experiences that are buried in your head and help you overcome your imposter syndrome and reassure you that the work that you've done is good work. Sometimes you just need that person to say that to you. So thank you very much for attending. Um, Let me know if you want to attend, the basically workshop. Send me a DM with your email address if you've reshared the event and want the resume template. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. I will definitely basically get back to you. And I see here a question. I'm in Japan and your workshop is at work hours. Will there be a replay available? So you will have access to the recording of the workshop. So in case you really, really want to attend the workshop, but you can't be there the entire duration, you can definitely have access to the recording. But as someone who's very ethical, I'm going to be honest with you. I want you to be there in person as much as you can because this is not like I'm watching this on my own. The power of this workshop is actually working on your resume with me and with your peers because we want to get it done. We don't want to procrastinate. So if you can't make it absolutely at all to most of the workshop, if you can't make it for, let's say, 1 hour, then that's fine. But if you can't make it at all, then I don't know, maybe I'll have it in the future. I highly doubt it. Maybe send me a message and I'll see if I can I don't know, figure something out with you. But I prefer, honestly, I prefer if you're there on person. I don't want just a whole bunch of people buying this and not doing it, right? And the discounted $200 is for people who are actually going to show up and do the work. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Happy Friday. I love you all. Thank you so much. I feel so happy that I actually even created my own resume. Have a wonderful Friday. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.